Hello, my dear viewers, welcome to a new episode. In 1967, Lakeside School in Seattle in the US decided to introduce its students to computers. You might think, what's so cool about this school? My friend, if you don't know, let me tell you for the 500th time that the computer at that time was a huge and expensive device. So the school bought its students' user accounts from General Electric, and with these accounts, the device you see in the picture. The student logged into his account, did some codes on the device. The codes are sent to General Electric's computers through phone lines. Then GC's computers process these codes and send them the feedback. This process might seem primitive, but at that time, it cost thousands of dollars. The school raised the money from the parents. On top of all that, the user accounts for the students weren't full access. They had a specific time window and then the access stopped. Despite the difficulty of this process, students were hooked up to computers and programming. Among these students was a 13-year-old student who will be one of the richest people in the world. He'll be the founder of one of the biggest companies in the world. You have guesses, my friend? Who, bro? President Biden. What's with you and Biden, my friend? It's Bill Gates, it's obvious. Okay bro, I'm just interested in the American affairs and the American elections. You know. Bill Gates, with his colleague Paul Allen, spend nights programming and coding. When the time period of their accounts ended, and the parents said it was too much to pay again, Bill Gates and his friend kept pressuring the school until they bought, from a local organization, CCC, a computer called PDP-10. See this? It's all a computer. It looks like a laundromat big enough to wash out your sorrows. Despite this computer having better qualities than the coding computer they used, accessing it also required time-limited user accounts. At that time, Bill and Paul decided to use their skills and be hackers. What, bro? Hacking the system, my friend. To decrypt the device's security. When they did that, the accounts were accessible for students with unlimited time. Robin Hoods of technology, Indiana Jones of softwares. Bill Gates took from the rich to give the poor, and when he became rich, we come out to play. The company felt that something was not right, and when they analyzed the situation, they sensed an imbalance. There were many users on the system who didn't pay. The company found out and restricted Bill along with all the students for weeks. Here, Bill Gates gathered his nerd friend and formed Lakeside Programmers Group. Oh God. The name isn't scary at all, my friend. But we like to encourage young people. Anyway, these students went to the manufacturing company CCC and told them they succeeded in hacking their system. We'd like, as an association, to help you find the loopholes from 13-year-olds that let us hack the system. In exchange, we want unlimited access to the devices. If this happened in Egypt, the company's CEO would have chased them around and tell them a collection of well-crafted swear words. But in our story, it was a deal. Because the company was already fed up of getting hacked. Wait, bro, seems like you ran out. Why, my friend, isn't this Bill Gates' story from before? And hundreds of YouTubers talked about it too. After the hacking, he'd create a company and it'd grow. And the windows grew into balconies and everything went great. You ran out. Wait, you hasty, wait. My episode today isn't on Bill Gates. I did talk about Bill Gates before. Today's episode is on the hacker. What, bro? Hackers. Hacking began with the beginning of the first computer software system. Just like how any house is built with a gate and a fence, there's always a thief who studies it and looks for loopholes to enter the house. The beginning of hacking is that some MIT programmers in the 60s decided to run operations in order to perform tasks on a computer, but in a different way than what the manual says. In other words, a gap in the system that you use to perform the task. Same as how Bill Gates decrypted the security differently than what the company knew. Hacking processes need a unique person, a person who can break down the patterns things are made of and think outside of the box. If you thought about it, you'd see it comes from creativity because hacking needs creativity. This breaching process was called hacking by the MIT programmers in the 60s. It's defined as finding loopholes to breach electronic systems with all their different kinds. Hackers, also called black hats, don't just find loopholes in a school's computer to make them use it more like Bill Gates, but they can find loopholes in bank systems or huge companies like Facebook and Twitter. They go big. These systems can give them data for millions of users, or important users like politicians and celebrities. These loopholes can give you a gateway to users' accounts on different sites, like the famous LinkedIn hacking in 2016. Hackers took the user IDs and their passwords, and tried them on other different sites. because you forget to change the password from a site to another to remember it. The hacker goes, "Okay, I have the LinkedIn password. Let me try it on Facebook," and bam, it opens. A piece of advice though, choose something different than your mother's name. We know 90% of people use it. By hacking one site, hackers managed to access Facebook, Instagram, and others. One loophole in a secured system that could be away from other sites but stores data for millions of users. Hackers here can collect these data and sell them to more than a benefactor. If we assumed a loophole's price can reach up to $100,000, a hacker can sell it to 10 benefactors and earn $1 million with a click of a button. Hackers' severity makes their sites and black markets under the eyes of the FBI that has a famous cyber wanted list for hackers. Bro, while you're talking I noticed a detail you skipped. I mean, excuse me, I'm not materialistic, but what's with the $1 million? I can get my brother's oversized hoodie, sit in the dark, hit a few buttons, and secure my future. My friend, you want $1 million, right? My dear viewer, please think your questions through. If hacking was easy, we would have all done it, including me. Each one would get a gaming chair and call himself a hacker. But unfortunately it's hard, and if we got caught, it's over. Hacking is a complex process. Let me explain how it's done. For free, bro? Yes, so what? The things I'll tell you can never make you a hacker, maybe just a computer mouse. The first stage is reconnaissance. The hacker collects information about you through a process called social engineering. It's the college with not enough score for engineering but more than social studies. Kidding. If there's hacker who wants to know your Visa passcode, he'll collect information about you like your birth date, anniversary, kid's birthday, any numbers that are personally important for you. Because people are lazy and look for easy numbers they memorize for passwords. How will the hacker know my wedding anniversary, bro? I forget it myself. My friend, please keep this to yourself. If my female friend is watching, she'll call it out. How will the hacker know these information about me? Let me tell you how he knows. My dear viewer, you looked so happy in front of the About page on your Facebook, and kept filling out all the information about you and your loved ones, dates, numbers, details, and QR codes. Then go over to Instagram and write every date in your life since you were born, your family, your traumas, the childhood songs, the growing up songs, and everything. If there was a missing information of all that, you'll take a quiz to know who you are from Friends, or who you are from Game of Thrones. If there are still unknown info, you'll accept anything that pops up, and everything even if you don't need it to do what you want. You allow the hacker into your camera, microphone, and desktop. What's all that worth? Because your result was being Chandler. One skim through your social media accounts is like telling the hacker, here you are, my mother and aunt's names, my work, my interests, email, phone numbers, and home address. Take whatever you want. Now congratulations, there's a hacker you aren't aware of with a 166,000th possibility of finding him and has access to everything. The second stage is scanning. The hacker searches for known loopholes in the network he's targeting you on, like the loophole of if this is found in a network, it could give access to hackers for users' database. The third stage is exploitation. Hacker here uses the loophole to get the data he wants, and lastly, because he's a professional hacker and supposedly not thick-headed, he does the fourth step, the backdoor. It's when he creates a loophole different than the one he used, for when they discover the loophole that he used and patch it up and think there are no more loopholes, he'd have a loophole that they know nothing about and use it. A backdoor that lets him return whenever he wants. After that, he erases his virtual fingerprints and his access trails, then walks away. In the hacker's world, there's a hierarchy, there's a normal hacker, and there's a great one. There's also a super hacker known worldwide, like Kevin Mitnick. This man hacked 40 US companies in the 90s, and was on top of the FBI's list of most wanted hackers, until he was arrested in 1995. This man wasn't just a hero in the eyes of the hackers, but the cinema also commemorated him with movies like Hackers in 1995, and Takedown in 2000. In the beginning, the hacker could discover a loophole and sell it to a benefactor instead of him using it and getting his hand tainted. He just sold it. I know there's a loophole here. Here you go. Give me money, you go. He could buy them to 10 or more benefactors, like we said. When hackers thought about it, they discovered that the biggest benefactors of systems loopholes were the systems themselves. If I'm a company that knows its loopholes, I'll patch them up. Just like how Bill Gates struck a deal with the company he hacked so they could patch up their loopholes. I think I might be the first one to say, patch up loopholes. If someone told you that expression doesn't exist in hacking, tell them bro invented it. Keep in mind that Bill Gates was a gentleman. He sat down for a conversation with them like any 13-year-old hacking a company's system. Normal. But here, hackers don't go to the companies themselves, they send them a scary messenger. This mindset gave the world viruses more dangerous than COVID and AIDS, what's known as ransomwares. Imagine this following scene with me. You're downloading a cracked game in peace. Then suddenly you see a message from a hacker saying, all your files were encrypted. And you can't open or restore them unless you pay the ransom money. Your computer is hijacked and your files are held captive. There's a folder, we know it matters to you, we have it. Pay the ransom. That's the idea of ransomwares in short. A message that pops on your device and if you click it takes over your files. Just like how biological viruses destroy your cells until you yearn for a cure. What's the cure in that case, bro? This file is really important. I can read in between the lines, my friend. The cure here is for the hacker to decrypt your files, and give them back to you but for a ransom. Depending on your financial status, if the hacker found you living on cracked games and torrent films, he'll ask for like $200. But if you were a tech master, it'll bite you. In 2021, Quanta Company, that manufactures Apple's devices and has all their designs, all the existing model designs and the future models. Imagine the price of these things. It was hacked by a ransomware that encrypted all its files, by Russian hackers called Raven, who asked for a $50 million ransom in exchange of handing them the decrypting codes. Apple didn't fight it, not even the slightest. It pulled the money out of its pocket and paid. In the same year, in April 2021, Netherlands, the country famous for 280 kinds of cheese, woke up to be surprised with its supermarkets' shelves without cheese. It's like waking up in Egypt and not finding the foul carts. Wait, what? Can someone hack cheese? That was because a ransomware at Bakker Logistics company that supplies cheese from the factories to all of Netherlands supermarkets. It didn't know what to supply and where, because all records were encrypted. They literally didn't know who ate the cheese. Bro, that's a silly example. If it's about the cheese, we'll just eat smoked beef, and if it's about Apple, we'll use Android. Hasty, my friend. It's not about a brand that you'd leave for another. Hackers can target a country's national security. This happened with one of the most famous known ransomwares, WannaCry, in 2016. A team of hackers called Shadow Brokers hacked the US National Security Agency's servers, and declared they possessed grave information for famous systems like Windows, and they put it on the market for highest price, but no one bought. Hey US, you don't believe us or what? We carry sensitive information. No one even batted them an eye. We have important data, people. We'll look into it on Wednesday. Here the hackers decided that since no one was taking them seriously, they would leak these loopholes to the public. Indeed, they leaked loopholes one after the other, until the fifth one. They were crucial loopholes in the Windows system, that even Microsoft didn't know to fix them with an update or a patch. Once these loopholes were leaked, hackers used them to create a ransomware called WannaCry. This virus copied itself from a Windows device to another. 200,000 devices in over 150 countries were hacked in 1 week. Fortified companies with secured systems like Nissan, Renault, and FedEx, they all got the virus. Train stations, restaurants, and institutions, to the point where there were memes online about the virus in a washing machine. But the most dangerous place that the virus reached was the UK's NHS hospitals. If the virus encrypted a company's file, it'd just lose money. If it encrypted a washing machine, it could just mix whites and colors. But encrypting a hospital's data. Some patients could die because their medical history was encrypted, surgery dates, allergies, and status updates. Ransomwares killed people, just like what happened in a German hospital in 2020 during COVID, in the hospital's season, when a critical condition patient's files were encrypted and she died during an attempt to get her to another hospital. This was the first registered case of a ransomware victim. They're heartless. They see the world as a digital matrix, a system made up of loopholes and weakness points to be used. Hospitals were a perfect weakness point in the eyes of the hackers. The threat analyst, Brett Callow, says that hospitals are the easiest targets, because they can't afford to have their systems down for long times, because of its critical conditions. Imagine, one type of hacking like ransomwares, didn't just make it to be a threat over national security or just the food you eat like the cheese in Netherlands, but also to the hospital treating you. It can also reach the car that you're driving. Like the hacker Charlie Miller, who found a loophole with Jeep Cherokee that made him control the car against the driver's will. His story lived in the famous movie series, Fast and Furious. Thank God for Fiats. its security system can't be hacked. What's interesting is that the hackers who do operations like that hide their locations well. If you got to them, you'd find protection by violent gangs. Like Russian mobs finding out that investing in one hacker can get them $50 million in one click, like Quanta's dilemma. So why trade in weapons and drugs and get injured? We can get 6 MIT guys, protect them, secure them, and take care of them, and they'll get us the money in exchange for all that. See the intelligent people? They invest well. My dear viewer, don't be afraid, I won't leave you without a fix. In one of the famous hacking conferences, DEF CON, hackers and programmers were asked about definition of hacking. We said it, bro, it's finding loopholes and sell it or blackmail with it. What's interesting, my friend, is that programmers provided 20 more answers. The answer you said is the one for black hats, the dark side of the hacking world. But each dark side has a beacon of light. So there are different colored hats, bro? Actually, yes. Let me tell you about the white hats. They're the good power where because of them black hats didn't rule the world. They're known as ethical hackers. Moral hackers that companies and banks work with them under IT supervision and hack into their systems, then submit a report with these loopholes, for the security systems to be stronger. The company thought, instead of being hacked, why not get someone to hack me? Like having a house and hiring a thief to be creative in his ideas on how to rob my house, and with every loophole, I fix it, so when a real thief comes in he wouldn't find any loophole. These white hat hackers perform all hacking steps except the back door, they just identify the loophole and have it patched. Sometimes these good hackers do that without dealing with the company, like the Brazilian hacker Reginaldo Silva. Any Brazilian name feels like a football player. Mr. Silva discovered a loophole in Facebook in 2014, and was rewarded with $35,000, and he received lots of job offers until he worked as an engineer in Facebook's cybersecurity. For people like Reginaldo, companies like Google, Apple, Uber, and others created a bug bounty program, an invitation for hackers to find the loopholes with promises of satisfying rewards and programs. Apple made hacking rewards that start from $25,000 to $1 million based on the severity of the loophole. Companies' investment in the white hats isn't just out of their fear of viruses that can destroy them, like ransomwares and their immense financial losses, but because the hacked companies submit to legal sanctions to compensate users for their failure in protecting their data. Like the GDPR law, that was set by the EU to compensate any company leak of citizens' data, for any of the EU citizens. Companies said, instead of being hacked and having to pay lots of money to my clients for the GDPR that can reach up to 20 million euros, I'll just get someone and give him €1 million to get me the loopholes. Investing in the smart people. Doesn't Apple see or what? Let me give you an example with the company Patreon, known for supporting creative people like me, that received a message from a good kind hacker in 2015, telling them he had all their databases, and that he was asking for his money reward. Like a tip or something, to patch the loophole and give them their database. The man wasn't blackmailing them, but he was just asking for a reward, a bounty. It's like telling them, I did it in good intent, with a smile. Instead of Patreon rewarding him and creating a bounty program like Google in 2010, it said, thank you Mr. Hacker, we'll publish a thank you with your name, thank you, bye bye. When the hacker saw the company refused paying the reward, he did his threat and hit their glass house with stone, and leaked all the client's data, with credit card passcodes, bills, and emails. Regardless of the morality of this action, but many companies started to realize the severity of it, and they should think about satisfying reward systems for them to avoid issues, for the good hacker to not consider going breaking bad and turn against them. We have to invest in him with substantial amounts of money, so the good hacker doesn't go in the wrong path. If we calculated it thoroughly, we'd see that paying for the good one is better than the bad one. What the hacker would earn from being a black hat would be spent on getting away from the FBI and Interpol. Just live in the light of good instead of worry and anxiety. This was what the Facebook cybersecurity Ryan McGeehan had promised, saying, if there's $1 million bug, we'll pay it out, bro. Let me ask you a question to embarrass you. Ask without embarrassing me, my friend. You know me, bro. I own many companies and I'm now investing in white hats, so I know their thing, but if I got a ransomware, what do I do? Would the white hats save the company? Or would everything be too late? Truth be told, the hero that saved the world from the WannaCry virus, the most dangerous ransomware, was a white hat hacker. After the virus spread in devices worldwide and breached Microsoft and Windows, and made it to companies and hospitals, it suddenly disappeared without notice. This was thanks to the security researcher Marcus Hutchins, who analyzed the virus codes by using reverse engineering. Did these start their study with the graduation project and then graduated from freshman year? Yes, my friend, you're right. That's reverse engineering. Anyway, this researcher discovered a loophole in the virus, that it's programmed that once it hits the device to try to reach a certain website online, a non-existent website with a random name. Why, bro? This was one of the ways hackers use to avoid cybersecurity companies from analyzing their viruses, by getting them worked up in imaginary systems, and analyzing them, so if the virus couldn't reach the site written by programmer that doesn't even exist online, then the virus keeps going, encrypting files and spreading. But if it managed to reach that site, then this means it's in a virtual system for the cybersecurity and stops working and erases itself from the device. Here Mr. Marcus asked for this site to be bought and registered, and here the virus stopped spreading, because each time the virus hopped on a new device, it tries to reach the site that the programmer wrote, it'd find it. So it would stop working, because that was its system, then deletes itself from the device. That way, Marcus saved millions of devices around the world, from the WannaCry virus. News outlets considered him as a national hero. In the old times, the world was huge in the eyes of our ancestors, not because it was great in area, because the world's area is the same, but because at the time, man's ability to discover and control the world was limited. What? Limited. So the world needed explorers to cross the sea, armies to travel through continents to get spices and salt. Each country's language was locked in within paper books that can be destroyed by fire. Civilizations were destroyed on the hands of the Mongols, because all what they left behind was paper. But the world was globalized with technology and digitization. It didn't just turn into a small village, it's barely a drawer. A small click, and a big application gets you to join the biggest network in the world, Facebook, that can connect you to billions from your place. A civilization that lasted centuries can be uploaded on a hard drive. A nation's entire heritage can be written in a Word file with 2 megabits size, or 7 megabits if it has pictures. The petrol oil in airplanes, ships, and cars can now be transferred from a continent to another in a short time. Just like how this was a con, its tax was digital and technological mechanization. That by its development, we made it to the moon, but with its hacking, we can go back to the Middle Ages in a blink. Imagine the supermarkets without cheese. The same button that can connect you to billions around the world, it can also isolate you from everyone. That's what happened with the US company, Colonial, that has the biggest oil pipeline system in the US, that produces 2.5 million barrels daily from the East Coast. This company was attacked by a ransomware that encrypted its data, and its attackers asked for $5 million. Suddenly all the ships stopped, and the country was on the verge of setting back to the Middle Ages. The FBI, the CIA, and all the security organizations were on the edge. Intel, who middled in? Who, bro? President Biden. Exactly, my friend, correct. First time in context. Whoa bro, finally he's in his context. President Biden, in context. President Biden middled to assure the people that the company will restore its systems as soon as possible. A scary crisis that in moments threatened a civil advancement that took centuries. It wasn't resolved until the ransom was paid. So the US president, FBI, CIA, couldn't all solve it, bro? It's a huge deal, my friend, it's not easy. Nowadays, with the easiness of our actual and virtual communication, man turned into data scattered over 1,000 apps. A simple hack can reach all of your data and sell them to 1,000 companies to target you with their products. Or even to 1,000 hackers to blackmail you with your personal data. Instead of needing armies to target a place or get rid of a symbol or steal something, one loophole, like access token in Facebook, can allow the programmer to control millions of accounts, and have them like or dislike anything, and creating trends out of specific events. Like any yellow press page that published weird news about celebrities, and clickbait sites that always want you to click a link to finish an article. So sick of these clickbait links. It's hard to go back in time, because just as paper carried memories for centuries, it destroyed civilizations when it burnt down. My advice after this episode, in the virtual world, don't forget to secure yourself properly. The World Wide Web is sneaky and lazy. Save your password, back up your files, update your security systems, ignore whoever tells you to open a link, and dust off that antivirus you had for years. Don't open anything that says, "Watch exclusively." It's not exclusive. Everything that has this title on it is always not exclusive. Really? Some videos on YouTube existed before YouTube and they're still there. Most importantly, To watch the old episodes and the new ones, look at the sources.